getting really comfortable asking for what I was worth was really powerful. Getting out of that pattern of sort of undercutting myself and then feeling resentment toward my clients who were only doing what I asked them to do. They weren't doing anything wrong. Just getting out of that as quickly as possible was really, really helpful. And to have a group of peers who were doing it too.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with Grant Writing and Funding, and I'm super excited to help people learn how to write better grants, to grow their nonprofits, and if they're thinking about starting a freelance grant writing consultancy, to actually get in there and transition into this space. And to help me talk about that today, I have Deborah Reed, and she's going to be talking about it. And she's from All Funded, her consultancy, and she's actually been through some of my programs, which is awesome. So she brings her consultancy experience to the table today. And I love it. I love everything about your business too and how you shifted it. And we're going to get into that. So welcome, Deb.
Hi, thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. So I always love having people in the programs on the podcast because it's talking about your personal experience and then just sharing too with other folks who are thinking about becoming a freelance grant writer or thinking about even what you got going on, right? So that those that are nonprofits listening today and to hear more of your story. So you came to Grant Writing and Funding, and you came to our Freelance Grant Writer Academy, which is what we're going to be starting up soon again. So I wanted you to share your experience so people can hear like behind the scenes too on where your business is. And you have All Funded once again. People can definitely check that out. We'll have that in the show notes as well. So yeah. Yes.
Well, for me, the Academy, the Grant Writing Academy came at, it was really at the timing was perfect for me. I had started a business. I've been working in grants for a few years. Like I said, I started as a volunteer. My background is in the arts, in acting. I started writing grants for a theater company I was acting with. I shifted my career to arts management, but I found that when I was managing director of a theater company or whatever I was doing, my focus was always on fundraising and raising grants or writing grants, no matter what my job description was. And that was what I gravitated to, no matter what I was doing. And I got really good at it. And so I kind of thought, well, why not just do this? I really liked the freedom, the idea of freedom and flexibility that came with running my own business. So about almost exactly a year ago, well, actually a little more than a year ago, now that I think about it, I started my business part-time while I was working in development at another nonprofit. And then almost a year ago, I went full-time. Over the summer of last year, I got 2 clients and I was writing grants for them, a theater company and a dance company. And nice. Yeah, it was great. I had a little bit of coaching earlier on, just really basic things. I getting my license with the state and the federal government, buying my domain for my website, but I really didn't know a whole lot else about how to run a business, and particularly running this kind of business, because as grant writers, we're pretty niche, and it's a little, I think it's a little difficult to find. It was difficult for me to find peers before finding you and the group. Because it's so specific, and even people who use my services or use our services don't initially come to me knowing exactly what the scope of my service is. So it was very much the Academy was the right thing at the right time for me. I was writing grants, I was working, but the Academy was helpful to me in that it helped me put some systems in place and put names to challenges, I'll say, and good things too that I didn't really know how to talk about. It gave me a vocabulary and a new, more logical way of understanding the things that were coming up in my day-to-day.
I love that. And I love that you came from such a niche within the niche, right? Like we talk about nonprofits in general, and there's so many different causes, and you really have that education and experience and knowledge of, the performing arts, of arts, and more of that context where you can really bring it. And I remember when you were in the academy, because one of the things we do is really talk about what is your ideal nonprofit client, and how would you work with that? And I remember it was kind of like, well, these are the people that have kind of been coming to me, and this is what I know. And I was like, you have permission to stay in that space. You can.
Yeah, and thank you. It was one of the best decisions, one of the best things I got out of it, because I when I started the business, and I kept the name of the business All Funded. I purposely kept it a little bit broad, because I was like, well, I don't want to be just arts. I want to work for everybody. But you encouraged me to lean into my strengths, and it is my passion. It's a sector I know the best. I mean, I don't, not that I wouldn't refuse a client outside of the arts sector necessarily, if I thought I could help them, but I don't know. I don't nationally, I don't have the same experience with like the Department of Education that I do with the NEA, for example. So I mean, it would be I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but it would be a steeper hill to climb. And also I just like it more. It's just more fun. They're my people. When I was in grad school learning to be an arts manager, my mentor there said, you scratch an arts manager, you're going to find an artist. And it's true. I speak the language. I still maintain my own creative work, which this business allows me to do. But it's, I think that there's a language that different sectors have. I think scientists understand scientists, and artists definitely understand other artists. And by the way, those are usually the people on the other side of the grant who are receiving the grant too. They tend to be other artists. So it's really helpful. If you know how to speak the same language as your grant panel. We're probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but I think that is why I've been able to be successful, is that I know what they care about.
Yeah. And I love leaning into your niche, leaning into that, because with that, everything becomes clear. Like I remember you too, it was like all of a sudden you're like, I know what content now to make for my website, and your website, even though it's all funded, right, which is a great way for people to find you. It's lots of arts pictures on it. Like you guys have to check it out, right? So definitely check it out and see the niche. And because then you're talking to those clients, you're talking to those arts organizations when you have pictures about the arts or of the spotlight, and you have like a great snapshot of different grants that you've written and received, and those all have to do with the arts, like a lot of them, right? So it is like just easier for marketing. Have you found that then as we work through this with you?
Yeah, definitely. I've been, I mean, it's still fairly new, my website, but I've been surprised at where it sort of took off. But I guess it makes sense. I got a lot of traction, and I still get a lot of business from Facebook, rather than the more, professionally oriented things. But that's where my friends are. And guess what? My friends are all artists. And
exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that so much. So yeah, so it's helped you with your marketing to be like, okay, Facebook is my place, because these are where the artists are hanging out that I know, right? That's
exactly. I mean, it's pretty uncool to say Facebook is your place right now, but what can I say?
Yeah, that's where it is. That's where it is. So that's awesome. So I love that you work through that in the Freelance Grant Writer Academy, is to really understand, I've started this business, and I have maybe I've got the LLC and I've got the things, but whoa, there's so much more to it, right? In this space specifically.
Yeah, and coming up, like, how do I really want to bill people? And switching from hourly to monthly or job-based pricing was huge. Was huge for me, and it's still a bit of a struggle with existing clients, but not struggle. It's it's an adjustment, we'll say. But it is helpful to know what your hourly rate is, whether or not you present it to the client. That was huge. Different means of communication. I think client management, establishing boundaries, and probably one of the biggest things I got from the Academy was I had an idea to create a service, a grant research package. And I had an idea. I knew I wanted to do it because I really like doing grant research. I don't know, it's a very nerdy thing about me, but I think it's really fun. I like finding the match. And you really helped me take this idea into something, was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is how much I think how long I think it'll take me to do it. This is the tools I'm going to use. These are going to be my deliverables. This is how much I'm going to charge. This is how I'm going to charge. I charge 50% up front, 50% when it's done. And, you get this whole thing. So it was very helpful in terms of turning an idea into a practical thing, a practical service. And I've refined it since then, and I continue to do it, but it's worked out really well for me. So that was great.
I remember that. Yeah. Cause that was also the challenge, right? It was see if you can just sell some of these to have that scarcity and all of that, and have I'm going to take on 5 clients or whatever that was. I can't remember the number, but it was getting out there.
I was a little ambitious. But that's okay.
It's okay. But just to get out there and take the idea. I love that you said that, because we have so many ideas.
Yeah.
So many ideas for my business, but how many are actually they've come into manifestation and there's something I can deliver and talk about, right? So I love that it became that. And then we had the challenge, see if you can just fill up, and that's a good way just to get on Facebook at first. Because I remember that was too, how do I talk about my business in front of my friends? You know what I mean? How do I get out there publicly?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So was that as well?
That wasn't as big of I just, again, back to, I think so much of what we do in our field and in a lot of fields, but it's really about relationships. Do I trust this person? And I found that was helpful to me. I also got personal referrals from people I had worked with. It wasn't like it was all Facebook, but I don't know. I was afraid, is it too casual? Have I been too casual on this platform in the past? Well, I don't know, maybe, but it didn't seem to scare anybody away. So.
I love that. I love that so much. So are you now full-time in your consultancy?
Yeah, I am still, I still write creatively. But this is it. This is my gig. I don't have another job. This is what I do. And the beauty of it is I can start as early as I want. I can work as late as I want. I can take a break in the middle. It's, I try not to work on the weekends, but if I need to or want to, I can.
So you've really set yourself up with your intention too, because I know that's a lot of the things we come into it with. Well, what does success mean to you? Because it might mean working different ways to different people, right? And for you, it was flexibility as well.
Flexibility was huge. It was really about, for me, it's about working with clients that I care about, that I think I can help. That's probably the most important thing. There is a certain monthly nut that I need to make, so it's doing that. And I guess I'd say there's a certain working style that I like. I think we all know it. When you just have a good partnership with a person, when you click really well, and it doesn't, for me, it doesn't mean it's only other theaters. It's not because my background is in theater. I have a dance company client who's great. They're fantastic. It doesn't necessarily mean they do the same kind of art that I do, but it's a similar working style, I guess I would say, similar set of values, and a certain level of respect and trust, which I personally have found easier to come by as a consultant than I did as an employee. Even occasionally when I was in leadership positions, I had jobs that I really liked too. I'm not saying that, but I feel like as a consultant, they treat you better and they pay you better. So it's nice on this side.
It's so true. You know what I mean? It's like, so much, it's like, sometimes it's like, okay, the executive director or the CEO can actually talk to the board, but sometimes they just want to hire a consultant because they're like, this is what we need you to say. So they hear it, right? And those kind of like situations, it's so
Yeah,
interesting, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. To have that professionalism. So yeah, it is like a more trusted field to be
Yeah,
a
and there is
consultant.
something about providing an outside eye, I will say. I think that you,
Mhm.
having been in the, well, we said managing director in the arts, because there's often an artistic director. It's a slightly different leadership structure.
Mhm.
But as a managing director, you can get a little myopic about your own organization. You can lose a little perspective that I think is not so great when it comes to grants, because a knowledge of the whole sector is really gonna help you understanding how your organization fits in to whatever ecosystem you're talking about. Sometimes it's very local. Sometimes I write grants for the city of Los Angeles, sometimes for just working on one for just Northeast Los Angeles, which is still huge because it's Los Angeles, but it's not even a whole city. And sometimes it's nationally, sometimes it's the NEA, sometimes it's all of California. So you've got to understand who you are in this part of the sector. Sometimes it's dance companies from all over the country. So it's just, it's the whole country, but it's just dance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's arts organizations with leadership, people of color, or whatever it is. So I think that, I don't know, I think it's helpful to have that perspective.
I love that. Yeah, because and especially because you understand it. And I remember one thing you were talking about was you also said, even in California, you understand a lot of like how government is run in tandem with these arts organizations. So like if some kind of funding is coming up because there's a set aside or allocations, or
Yeah.
just because you're in the space so much, you know more than a generalist would. You know what I mean? You
Yeah, I
understand.
think so. I think so. When there's a new, I mean, and they pop up all the time. I mean, even you think like, oh, California's released everything they're going to. Like, nope, we got another just today. There was another a little extra dribble of COVID relief. So, we'll take it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you did this business. So just talking about that too, like the arts organizations, especially performing arts during COVID, a lot of changes, a lot happened during that time, especially
Yeah.
that sector. And you started your consultancy basically during COVID, right? In
Yeah,
2021.
in the wake of it, for sure.
Yeah.
The challenge, I mean, I don't think it's unique to the arts, but there was an influx of cash in late 2020 and 2021. So financially, a lot of arts organizations were actually doing pretty good, just because there was this cash and they were spending very little.
Yeah.
Some retained their staff, some did not, but nobody was putting on plays, or nobody was, mounting a tour of whatever. But the fear was, and it's been, well-founded, is what happens when the COVID relief dries up, which it hasn't completely, but it's trickled off, and audiences aren't, I mean, they've come back, but they're still not back the way that they were. Some of that is, I don't know if it's still lingering COVID fears at this point, but people just got out of the habit. People, they weren't going out. They were watching HBO, Netflix, or, I mean, I don't know, maybe the writer's strike will be good. I don't know. But so that's really the challenge now is how do we get them back? And there's been a restructuring. A lot of arts organizations have not survived, which is it's really sad. I don't know if it sort of remains to be seen whether that's going to benefit those that are left. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see a little more consolidation going on. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but there's also a big, our sector is experiencing the same change in leadership that a lot of nonprofits are. A lot of our artistic directors are retiring now, and so there's a lot of new generation, and there are a lot more women, a lot more people of color. So there's a real change going on. So it's actually, I think, a good time to be running your own little tiny little ship, you can be very, I find I'm able to be nimble and go to where I am needed. And if I'm offering something that's not particularly useful, it's easy to sort of let that go.
I love that so much. I like how you're taking like the big picture, and because you're in a niche sector, you can really do that. You can actually niche down, but then go wide and say, okay, what's going on? So you have this lens, you know what I mean, that feeds in all these different information points that you're talking about, and to say, okay, I'm going to watch this. And you as a consultant, now you actually have the brain space and the time to kind of look at it like that, right? And to say, how can I be a thought leader in this specific space then? How can I really bring my skills up as a consultant to help consult these organizations that are going through this?
Yeah, and I would say I think that that's actually been one of the more important things, is really just keeping an eye on the field, on reading the New York Times art section, and just reading whatever that is for your field. Don't just focus on grant. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Keep up on trends in philanthropy and specifically in grants. I read all that too, but you want to keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you talked about too, like your marketing, right? You're like Facebook, but also like word of mouth in the industry. And, a lot of people when they're starting out, I see some of the kind of mistakes, if you will, is they're just reaching out to grant writers, or they're putting in hashtag grant writers to like, and I'm like, no, that's not
grant writers aren't going to hire you.
There you go. You need to go to where that decision maker is, where that person that is your ideal client would hire you, right? So how have you found, like, I know you've also attended, I believe, like a conference or convention, right? Was that, or you attended?
During the academy, I went to a local arts event in Los Angeles. It was in person. And that was helpful. I did meet some people. I don't know if I got an indirect referral through that. Somebody referred me to somebody else. Yeah, I think that's important too, attending industry events. And for that, I mean, there are educational events that I think are great within the grant writing world, but I kind of, for me, it's like that. This was a Los Angeles, it was Arts for LA is the name of the organization. They're an arts advocacy group in LA, and that was great. And it was like, we're back from COVID. They're a great organization. There are other national organizations that I have attended, national convenings, theater communications group, things like that, which I would love to do again. So we'll see. Those I think are finally back after
yes
COVID.
Yeah. And then so if someone's listening to this, they're like, oh my gosh, we're an arts organization, we're in that field, we're in that wider sector, like what kind of services? You talked about doing grant research as a package, like do you have how can you work with folks out there?
Well, there are a few different ways. I have clients that are monthly retainer clients, and they are there are two levels of that. There's sort of the full service, like I will write the grants for you. I won't sign the contract, but I'll make sure everything is signed and reported and et cetera. That's sort of the full service. It's probably the closest to having an employee from the client's perspective, because I do pretty much, unless I literally can't do it. And there are some things that they have to do themselves. The next level down is, I would say, I have another level of monthly clients, of retainer clients, where I just write the grants, and that's I get I see the proposal, I put it all in a document, hand it over to the client. They take care of submitting everything, and that's it's a way for them to offload most of the work, and they get a pretty significant break on the price. So that works well for a lot of people. I do standalone grants if there's one that, if there's a particular grant that somebody is concerned of, that they just need some help with, I can write it for them. That's only the written part. I don't offer service on that. And then I do proofreading or document review. And grant research. So I have a grant research package, which involves, once I am familiar with the nonprofit, I'll do a deep dive of research and provide them with 8 to 12, viable new funders for their nonprofit that they could apply to within the next 12 months. And that's worked out really well for me. That's been a great way to get to know some new clients. And it's fun. I like research.
Yeah, I like that your package, because your grant research package, I love all of them, but that one specifically because it's a nice kind of like getting to know you package as well.
Yeah.
And you get to know about the organization, they get to know you as you work. And then, that's a lot of work that they've been putting on their to-do list forever that they just haven't gotten around to. You can then do and take that off their plate. And really, because grant research it's pretty intense. Like there's some art.
Yeah, and look, not everybody. There are special services that most people. I mean, most nonprofits don't pay for it. I mean, it's but we do. So
there's specific software, all of the things, right, that you can then pull out of your wheelhouse and say, like, this is what I have and I can do it. And I've got the ability and technology to do it. So I love that getting to know you, and then all of those different programs that you have to help nonprofits. So and like you said, you're like take on other clients as well, but that's really your jam is the theater and arts and wider sector in that. So I think that's wonderful. And I love how you've niched down, and once again how it's reflected on your website, how it reflects in your marketing, how it makes it easier for you then to come up with your plan for the year. Like, these are the different events I should go to then. You know what I mean? It's not this like, any nonprofit. Like that's so overwhelming, for you, right? For anyone to
totally.
with a marketing plan. So just going back to the Freelance Grant Writer Academy. So we are kind of spinning on its head, and its next rendition is we're kind of opening up more of a year-long program, and you went through the 8-week intensive program. So we're really excited about this, but even in that 8-week intensive program, like we talked about, one of the big takeaways was, getting niched down and saying, okay, I can actually lean into my strengths. What were some of the other takeaways or transitions in your business, and why would you recommend this program for someone that is thinking about starting a freelance grant writing business?
Well, to zoom out a bit, the beginning of the program was also very powerful for me. I'm really thinking about what are my values? What do I want from the kind of work that I do? What is my relationship to money? What is my perception of myself as an earner? Really fundamental, actually pretty deep questions that I hadn't really thought about in that way. And I think that for me, I think getting really comfortable asking for what I was worth was really powerful, and getting out of that pattern of sort of undercutting myself and then feeling resentment toward my clients who were only doing what I asked them to do. They weren't doing anything wrong. Just getting out of that as quickly as possible was really, really helpful. And to have a group of peers who were doing it too. We were all going through it together. So that's always helpful.
I love that. So, and just talking about, because a lot of people that's, they want to know too, like finances, number of clients, like that's all increased for you. Yes. From that start.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you looked at, like, I love that you talked about the value, and I think that resonates so much with so many people is, I'm undercutting myself. It's like a lot of times I ask people, or I ask this in the mentorship too. I say, how many of you have given discounts before the nonprofit has even asked for one? And everybody raises their hand. It's like this nature that we have. And I'm like, stop doing that. Why are we getting in their heads? Right? Like we don't need to do that. And it gets to that, like, oh, I gave them too low of a discount, even though I'm the one who gave them that. They didn't even ask. And now
I know.
It's like, what the heck? So it's like working on a lot of the mindset with money, with, just worth and all of that. And a lot of that is very systemic, which is why it gets so deep, right? Like we really get into it. So from that, have you increased your prices from when you entered to now?
I have, and it's very exciting. So yeah, and it's just better. I hate to keep using the word, but it's just less resentment, which is terrible. It's just a better feeling when you're happy with what you're doing, you're happy with what you're getting paid. There's, no
Feeling
grumbling.
less stressed out, right? There's a lot of that, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the
And,
number
you know, it's,
okay.
and I will say, it wasn't in the budget for everybody. You know, there was a client that, who I adore, but the artistic director just said, you know, it's not in the budget. And I said, I understand. So, I mean, I still work with them, but not on a retainer basis. I just do like the big grants on a job by job basis. It's fine. There's always a way to work it out.
Yeah.
I guess that's
But
the other
now
thing.
you're getting paid your worth still by not putting in additional time. And then that's
Exactly.
where it builds the resentment. So you have your boundaries.
Yes. And I will say he was cool. He wasn't like, oh, come on, can't you just blah, blah, blah. He was not like that. So.
Yeah. And we worked through a lot of that too. Like, how do I talk to existing clients about my new rates or when they're coming up for their contract? Like that's a big discussion to have, right? That we have and we say, okay, here are some ways and how you can kind of bring that in. And when you're prepared for it, then it usually is met with a very respectful response, right? From the nonprofit.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't work out, I think I mean, sometimes it does work out, so that's great. But even if it doesn't, it's fine.
Right. So I love that, like developing boundaries. And now your clients, like when you came, like you said, you just had a couple on the side and your business. So how is your client load now since you've been through the program?
You know, I would say it's actually similar to where it was before. It was, I guess it's just a slight increase, but I would say I don't want to say they're higher quality clients, but I am probably doing the same amount of work, but earning more money. I mean, in terms of hours, I'm doing the same amount, working the same number of hours, but I'm earning more money for those hours, which leaves me time for other things, which is great.
So it's like been a good fit for you. That was kind of leveled out.
Totally. And yeah.
I love that so much. And I can't wait. And now you're in the Grant Professional Mentor, scaling your business. So as we continue to grow your business, we'll definitely be bringing you back on the show. But anyone, so they're looking at starting a freelance grant writing business. Like, why would you say like, yeah, you should take the academy? Like, why is that a good?
You know, it really is going to depend on where the person is, what their concerns are. But what I got out of it was a way to turn an idea. I knew it was something I was capable of doing, but I didn't really know how to do it in terms of, it was real just practical. Like, you know, what do I say in the freaking email? Like, what do I, like, what do I actually do? And that's what it, like, how much do I charge? How do I describe this thing so that it makes sense and I'm not rambling for 20 minutes? For me, it was about taking the idea and making it an actionable plan.
I love it. I love that so much. Yeah. So we're super excited to have you go through that program and now in the grant mentorship as well as you expand your business. And for folks listening or watching out there, like definitely contact Deborah. She's got amazing, as you've heard, and especially if you're in that arts area, like she knows what's going on. She's got her finger on the pulse, so you don't have to all the time, and she can just give you the cliff notes on it. So because you're managing a nonprofit, so you got all that going on. Yeah. So thank you so much, Deborah, for coming on.
Thank you. This was a blast as always. I love the Academy and I love the mentorship now, but I'm happy to, I hope more people do it. It was really helpful for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You're such a value to the group. As always, love what you're doing, love watching you grow and your confidence grow and just, you know, the ability and all the work just to be more streamlined and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see. So thanks for coming on. You're doing great things.
Thank you.
And we'll have all of your links in the show notes.
Wonderful.
Okay.
All right.
See you in the ship. Bye.